I was once obsessed with video games, especially when I had free time. These times were extremely precious for me to extend my knowledge and improve my skill sets, but I wasted them again and again. Every time after I played video games for 5 hours straight in the afternoon or at midnight, I always felt an unbearable emptiness in my mind. And I just deleted them immediately and swore to myself that I would never play them again. But the next day, I still convinced myself to just play 1 hour. 1 hour and I'm done. It's not that serious. However, I ended up playing 6 hours. Then the emptiness kicked in. I deleted them again until the next day. The same thing happens again and again. I felt like I would never be able to escape from my video game addiction. I'm not gonna lie, I still played quite a few hours in the past 2 days. So this video games addiction has bothered me for years. For years I was trying to figure out, how can I deal with this addiction? How can I get back to work after I playing, wasting all this time, feeling guilty, playing that much amount of video games and my brain is a mess. How can I get back to work from this addiction? So there are 3 points that I want to talk about. 3 things that we need to do to get back to work from addiction. So the first thing that I want to mention is to having crisis awareness. If you have something in your schedule that is close to you, a few days after or a few weeks after, if that thing scares the shit out of you, you're not going to play video games because your anxiety is going to make you to do something to prepare for that event. So I remember this one day I was having a very big presentation. We're having a design course and all of our final grades is going to depend on that presentation. When there's 2 weeks before, I was so stressed and I was so anxious and so nervous, and that presentation scared the shit out of me. During these 2 weeks I had my highest standard of the efficiency. I never play video games anymore. All I want to do is to read as much as I can, speak as much as I can to prepare myself from this presentation. And because I was so scared, I was so nervous, during that time I have no willing to play video games, because I know that once I will play video games, it's going to make me more anxious, and it's going to give me a panic attack. So I have to prevent myself from doing that. And then also there's a traditional saying in China called 生于忧患，死于安乐, which means that people are born from crisis and die from comfort. So having the crisis awareness is extremely important, because you cannot rely on brain to make the rational decision for you, because your brain is still the brain from the animal. It's still the brain from the ancient time. When you are in a very comfort situation with no predators, with no crisis, then your brain is going to make you seeking for pleasure and for the instant gratification. So you can never trust your brain. And instead, you should have something in your schedule that scares shit out of you, which is going to consistently stimulate your brain and drive yourself to move forward. So having crisis awareness is very important. You cannot rely on your brain to make the decision for you. You have to stimulate your brain with more crisis so that you can push your brain to keep making the rational decisions for you instead of seeking for instant gratification. The second thing that we need to do to get back to work from addiction is to realize that your brain is our real enemy. Your real enemy is not going to be the partners or your friends or the potential competitors that surrounds you. It's not going to be your co-workers, it's actually yourself. And how you want to compete is to compete with your own brain instead of compete with the accomplishment from the other people. Because if you see your time management, or we can call that self-management, how you manage your schedules, how you manage the priority of your tasks, it's all about your brain. Sometimes when your brain is a mess, it's very easy to play the video games or seeking for instant gratification. It's very important that you realize, your brain sometimes can be deceiving. Choices that your brain tells you is not the real rational choice that you need to make at the present moment. You cannot fully trust the brain. And sometimes when my brain tells me that it's okay to play video games for 1 hour, or it's okay to just watch that porn for 1 minute, and nothing is going to happen, and that thought is actually my real enemy. And for years I think my brain is helping me to relax, my brain is helping my body. No, you have to think twice. Your brain is actually causing you to lose, because sometimes your brain cannot recognize certain hard works that is going to making you feel uncomfortable at the present, but it's going to benefit you for the long term. That is the delayed gratification, and that's very important because 90% of our tasks, if you want to having something productive or if you want to learn something and to actually having some progress in our life, 90% of the thing that we do is the delayed gratification, and our brain is not capable to realize that. There are many times my brain is trying to convince myself to eat that slice of pizza or play video games for 1 hour or watching that porn just for 1 minute, and then it's going to help you to relax so you can sleep better. And then see what ended up. I play video games for like fucking 5 to 6 hours a day, and that's how your brain can be deceiving to you. So you have to sometimes challenge your brain and realize that what's really causing you to procrastinate or what's really stopping you from progress is actually your brain. It's not the classmates that sits beside you in the classroom. It's not your potential competitors. Real enemy is actually your brain. The third thing that we need to get back to work from addiction is to quantify our goal, because we see how the video games affect us mentally comparing to the delayed gratification. The hard works affect us mentally. It's very different. When we play video games, there's validation, there is the reward, in like every 5 seconds. There is instant gratification, there is many kinds of reward that's going to stimulate your brain, making your brain to be happy, to produce the dopamine. And that's how the video games doses your brain. And when we see the real hard works in our life, readings and working out, taking cold showers, all these things are not likely to reward us immediately. And then we just ignore their benefits. Our willingness of doing this thing is going to be less and less. So it's very important that we quantify our goal and having some reward in each stage, and to encourage us to move on from these good habits. So how do we maintain that long-term strive is to consistently encourage yourself by the actual rewards. And so for example, you can set the goal very small. Sometimes when I don't feel like I need to go to the gym, the one thing that I always do is to negotiate with myself. I encourage myself to take a very small action. If I was laying on the bed, keep swiping my phone for the YouTube content, first thing that I negotiate with myself is that if you don't want to go to gym, fine. Like all you need to do is to move your finger 1 inch far. Yeah, so that's literally how I negotiate with myself. Move your finger 1 inch from the floor. Yes, when I did that, I then encourage myself to move one of your feet to the floor. Yes, that's the second thing. Move one of your feet from the floor. And then I realized I actually did that. And then I encourage myself to move both of my feet on the floor. And then guess what happened? I did that. And then I encourage myself to wear that, wear my gym clothes. And then I did that too. And then I just wear my shoes, grab my water bottle, and I go straight to the gym. And that's very important, when you feel the goal is way too big, it's way too far away for you to reach, it's important that you can negotiate with yourself. Even a very small action will change the game completely. And that's exactly how your brain is negotiating with you when it's trying to convince you to play the video games. It's the same mechanic. Just take a small action, only play video games for 1 hour. 1 hour is fine. Only watch that porn for 1 minute. 1 minute is fine. So what we need to do is actually to reverse that mechanic. Try to negotiate with yourself to do the positive thing, to build that good habits. Then with the long-term progress, you can see the results. So it's very important to quantify your goal. Set small goals and negotiate with yourself to even do a small thing and again. And then you could progress gradually from it. And that wraps up my video. So still right now, I'm still not capable of completely getting rid of the video games. But still, these techniques helped me a lot every time when I deal with these addictions. And that's it for today. I'll see you in the next video.